Last night, 1 o'clock in the morning, I did a live broadcast to my Patreon supporters from here in Western Australia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Well, it didn't go terribly well, mainly, well actually only, because of the slow bandwidth here.
It is the day after Christmas.
So now here I am, the following morning, repeating it, and the vlog really is about what I'm doing in 2018, and actually, as it turns out, 2019 as well. Forex Overland. What we're doing is, as I was putting it together, you know when you plan something and then you find it so difficult to get ahead with the plans because something keeps getting in the way and just blocking the path. Well, that was what happened over the last month or more when planning 2018. And that thing that was getting in the way was Overland Expo West. It's at the end of May. It was right in the middle of the year, and it was just not working. So I decided, let's drop Overland Expo West. Take it out of the picture, see what happens. Literally within a week, everything had fallen into place. Remarkably so. I'm an exponent of the law of attraction. If you look for something, if you look forward to something, if you know it's going to come, it will come your way. And it's a case of, you call it faith, call it whatever you like, you can label it any way you like, but I believe that things happen to people when they are confident that they will happen and look forward to them and try and make them happen. They don't move forward with hope, they know it's going to happen. They just know. They do the things that are needed, but I digress. 2018. So this is what's going to happen. My daughter, youngest one, Kate, some of you will know her, getting married in March. Then in April, BF Goodrich has got a new product launch, a new tyre, and the international launch is in Melbourne, Australia, and I've been invited, and the troop carrier is part of it, which is quite nice, isn't it? I think that's pretty cool. Immediately after that, as part of that, that's happening near Melbourne. So I'm trucking the cruiser to Melbourne. Once the launch is finished, I then take the cruiser and I'm going to drive it to Byron Bay, which is the easternmost part of the Australian mainland. And I'm going to drive it from the furthest east point to the furthest west point, right across Australia. And here is a map, very rough map. For those of you in the United States, distances are very similar to the width of the United States. Although the red line here is not an interstate, it's a combination of blacktop, about 10-15% of it, gravel roads, probably 50% of it, and rough bush track, about 40% of it.
From Melbourne, which is down here, I'll have to drive up to Brisbane, meet some people, probably do a meet and greet or two, and then there's Byron Bay there, far eastern point, and then this part here is mostly tar, and this part here is mostly gravel, and this part here is mostly desert track, crossing the Simpson Desert. And then this part here is tar, and this part here is mostly gravel, and of course Australia's one of the most famous landmarks, Uluru, Ayers Rock, is here, and that's gravel road. And this piece here is a mixture of gravel road and very rough track. Includes part of the Gun Barrel Highway. There is part of the Gun Barrel Highway that I will actually avoid, because it is, in fact, it's down here, because it is so, it's been described as 500 kilometers of demonic washboards, corrugations. So I'm going to avoid that by taking a drive up here. It's about 300 kilometers further, but I don't have the terrible conditions. And this piece here is actually the last section of the Canning Stock Route. Of course, Canning Stock Route started up here and went all the way down here. And then the road west to the far west coast, which is here. And of course, I live just north of Perth, about here.
Then I will come back here for about 3 to 4 weeks to edit. Then I'm off to Africa. I'm working with a company that has taken four-wheel drive rental to a new level, and it's not, they don't like to call themselves 4x4 rental. They're very similar to Safari Drive in that they offer the full package, but what they've decided to do is to take the level of vehicle to the next level, and I'll be driving one of their vehicles. The trip is to find amazing animal encounters from your actual campsite. So in other words, not so much lodges and game drives, but actually driving in game areas and camping in game areas.
The vehicle will either be based in Cape Town or in Namibia, but I suspect it will actually be in Windhoek, Namibia. But I will visit friends in Cape Town and probably drive this route here, basically easterly into Botswana. This is, I think, all blacktop, and then enter the wilds of Botswana here just south of the Kutsi Game Reserve, then the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. This is where I did my solo trips in 2008 and 9. Then into the Makadikari Pans, but this time I'll go into a place called the Makadikari Pans National Park. I've never filmed in there. My favorite places are around here and around there, but not here. And there are a lot of animals there, because remember, the whole point of this is to find animals. Then onto Mound, this is Blacktop, and then this is a bush track, a slow-moving bush track, lots and lots of game. Particularly in the Chobe National Park, which is this area around here. I'll probably see very good game sighting in Mareme, which is there, and of course Savuti, which is there, along the Chobe River, along here. Then we leave Botswana and enter Zimbabwe. Now Zimbabwe, there won't be a lot of game around this area here, but the reason for this piece is really to visit Mana pools on the banks of the Zambezi River here, which should be really fantastic. Then we return. We do have an option into going to the lower Zambezi, but I'll probably not do that. This is very, very slow growing bush track. That road alone, just that road, is one day. So I probably won't do that. I'll go up here to South Luangwa, North Luangwa, and this is very exciting. I've never been on this road before, up to a place called Benguela. It's very wild, very remote, and it should be an amazing place to see and experience wild animals.
That is a 4-week trip, approximately, and that happens in July. Then I come back here. But while I'm in Africa, the Land Cruiser is on a ship on its way to the United States. This is where it gets exciting, because it's not just about the next year. I'm sending this to the United States because I've decided to do one of the most ambitious, it is the most ambitious trip that I've ever done in my entire life. My brother had a heart attack 6-ish weeks ago. Everybody got a huge fright. He survived. He seems to be unscathed. We thought it was genetic because he's fit. He's much healthier than I am in terms of, fitness, and he's more active and carries no fat and, doesn't eat bad stuff, and heart attack. And it got me thinking, none of us know when it's over. All we do know is that at one point it will be over. So if we're living our lives and not really understanding the end result, apart from the fact that one day all of this is over, if that's all we know, because it is, isn't it? That's all we know. Everything else is a guess, and we look at goals and da-da-da-da-da-da. But there's one thing we know for sure. This is temporary. And my brother's heart attack brought it to life. And it said to me, you want to do Trans Americas. You've wanted to do it since you were a little boy. do it. You've got a vehicle, do it. Now, I had the long-lived dream, long-lived, 2 or 3 years, of driving a vintage Range Rover to celebrate the British Army's 1972 expedition called the Darien Breakthrough. They drove 2 Range Rovers from Alaska to Cape Horn. First vehicles, so they say, to drive the entire route non-stop. They weren't the first 2 vehicles to actually cover the Darien, which is the very difficult bit in the middle.
The Range Rovers, from which the snows of Alaska had so recently melted, were moving now at an average of 2.5 miles a day.
But the idea of taking a 40-plus-year-old British Leyland car and driving that kind of distance, that means an enormous logistical challenge, which means money, lots of money. Must I wait for the money? I mean, getting sponsorship, even with a channel that is as good as mine and as big as mine and growing as fast as mine, getting sponsorship is not easy. I can get kit quite easily, but sponsorship, moolah, not easy. And I thought, must I wait? No, I'm not going to wait anymore. Because with this big unknown factor, I'm going to do it. So once this vehicle arrives in the US, I'm going to do a trip, and it'll arrive in probably September-ish. I will arrive in the United States after that, get in the vehicle and do a little bit of a road show, a couple of meet and greets. I will post where. We'll then do a trip, not sure where. Maybe I'm going to do that little trip through Oregon that we missed before because of the snow. I'm going to do that again.
Jeremy's just trying to prove a point here.
And maybe I'll go to Canada. Don't know at this point, and this is a kind of the iffy part. That's the route that I still have to plan. And then lastly, and I'm hoping this might happen, is that the vehicle will be on show at the SEMA Las Vegas show. I'm busy talking to BF Goodrich about that now. No promises because it is entirely up to them. But the vehicle was a huge hit in the Perth four-wheel drive show, and I'm saying, well, if it was that much of a hit here, it'll be even more of a hit in the United States because it's so unusual. Anyway, that's their decision. But I love the idea of having it shown off at SEMA Las Vegas. I will then come home to Australia for November, rest of November, December, January, February, and I do all my planning. And I return to the United States in March, where this will be stored, probably in Seattle, and I will then drive it from Alaska to Cape Horn. And that's the only trip that I'm actually planning, big trip, that I'm actually planning for 2019. I will have, as part of that trip, in fact, I'm actually putting this together in January this year, live tracking on my website. So you'll be able to, at any time at all, see where I am. All of the trips that I've described above, including Transamerica, of course. And you'll be able to see live how far I traveled that particular day, what was my average speed, and obviously pictures from the different points. So it's kind of a live atlas, as it were. And of course the regular videos, vlogs, and feature productions. So that's basically my next 2 years mapped out. Now, those of you who saw the live broadcast last night from Patreon, yes, you would have seen me quite a lot, and it was very frustrating offer. Sorry, I couldn't help that. That was just the bandwidth here in Australia. It's not very good. We're getting faster bandwidth, we've been told, in February, so I'll be able to do more live productions and live sharing with you, live videos with you, but I'm not going to do any more until they brought in the new faster cable. Frustrating? Yes. What else? Oh yeah, lastly, if you want to support anybody on YouTube, you know the best way, not a lot of you don't know this, and I'm talking now about general YouTube viewers. If you subscribe to a channel, if you click that little bell means that you'll get a notification whenever they post a video. Okay. Patreon supporters, in my case, get most of the videos I make about 7 days early. But when it does go onto YouTube as a public event video, if you've clicked that bell, you'll get a notification. But if you want to, this is what I actually was coming to, support any YouTuber that you like, but you don't actually want to spend money, okay? You just want to support them. The best way to do it is to click that little bell and then watch the advert to the end. It's pennies. It's a tiny amount of money, and you're not paying it. YouTube advertising AdSense is paying it. Okay? Watch the advert. That's a great way of supporting. And of course, the next way of supporting is a thumbs up. And the next way of supporting is a comment. Because activity on a video also helps it be shared by, it just helps the demographics of that particular video. If you like it and you share it, is even better. Sharing is great and comment is great. So just, you might not have known that. So if you do want to, yeah, just, you know, and it's a very, very small amount of money, every advertisement you watch, but it does help. It really does help. So, for those Patreon supporters that watched my video last night and were driven completely up, if you thought it was bad for you, how bad do you think it was for me?
The day after.
Anyway, it is what it is. Thank you, Patreon supporters, for supporting me. You are the guys that make this all possible, and you're the guys that give me the time to spend editing and working and shooting and filming. And actually, yeah, I do have a great job, and I'm very aware of it. And I look forward to seeing you in the middle of Australia, in the middle of Africa, and the middle of the United States next year and the year beyond. Have a wonderful, wonderful, safe and prosperous 2018. I'll see you then. Thank you for watching.
If you would like to be part of what I do and help me make more videos, support me on Patreon. Click the Patreon button on the screen now.